Hey, aloha, and welcome to the Friday Marketing Live Jam Session. I am Tom Gaddis, and we have a power-packed panel. Try saying that 3 times fast. I didn't practice it. That's the only reason I got it out. Of co-hosts today, we've got Storm and Norman. We've got Richie Rich. We've got Jason Moran, our automations expert. We have a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about the secrets of scale. How to make more money and boost your hourly rate while working less each week. I'm also going to drop a link at the end to a free training that Nick did on the part-time $1 million agency that you guys are really going to want to check out. So we're going to do that. We're going to get settled in, make sure we have cool drinks, and we're ready to go. Take your questions, do some shout outs. So why don't you do the same? I'm going to cue up the intro, and we'll see you back here in one momento.
It's now time, the moment you've been waiting for. Get ready for the fastest 60 minutes of marketing strategies and tactics to build your remote empire from anywhere in the world. After 167 agonizing hours, they've finally returned. From the sun-soaked Sin City and the sandy shores of Maui, Hawaii, now back for a brand new Aloha Marketing Jam Session. It's your hosts, the Offline Sharks and Remote Millionaires, Tom Gaddis and Nick Ponte.
Oh man, listen to that crowd. They are fired up with the 4 of us. That's awesome. Listen to that crowd. Yeah, we don't just have Maui. Well, we don't have Maui in the house today, but we've got Canada. We've got Nashville, Tennessee. We've got Utah. So we are covering all the bases, people from everywhere. Let's take a look at the chat, see who all's here. Welcome, everybody. Enrique, welcome. Dorn, Lee, welcome. Jacqueline, Barbara, Patty, welcome, everybody. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Excited to have you here. We are going to have a fun show today. We have a plethora of powerhouse co-hosts today. So we're going to be able to field any question. What's up, Cameron? Cameron, you're supposed to be on vacation, dude. Come on. he's like making sure everything's going even when he's not working. We love that guy. Thanks, Cameron, for all your checking in and making sure we're set when you're away. We appreciate it. Welcome. Hello, Kristen. Awesome. Oh, we got Pennsylvania in the house. Howdy. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, man, we have a great show lined up today. We're going to be talking about the secrets of scale. I've got some thoughts on that. I know our co-host has some thoughts on that as well. I do have a couple. Oh, somebody has some feedback. Maybe, guys, why don't we mute ourselves unless we're talking, and then that way we can make sure we can cut that down. What's up, Patty? Oh, go take that sales call. Look at that. Got to jump on a sales call. Yeah, that is a revenue producing activity. Go kick butt. Let us know how it goes. Appreciate that. Awesome. Cool. Well, welcome, everybody. Welcome. So like I said, we're going to be talking about the secrets of scale. I got some thoughts on that. I know our co-host has some thoughts on that they can share with you. We're going to take your questions on it. We're going to do some shark shout-outs. Again, at the end of this live, I'm going to drop a link for a special training Nick did. It's free. It's called the Part-Time $1 Million Agency. You guys are going to want to check that out as well. First, before we dive into today's live show, I wanted to give a quick update to all of our 90-day reach cold email machine members who joined us last week. Welcome. Thank you so much. We are super excited to have you guys in. Jason and Richie have been working hard behind the scenes, along with myself and Nick on that program. So excited to see people starting to take action. And even people reporting some results. So that's really, really great since we just rolled that thing out. One thing I wanted to mention, though, is we are doing 4 live bonus calls for that program. We had the first one last Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So they happen every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And last week, Richie was on. He talked about his process for cleaning the list, how he stays organized with it. If you haven't seen that, you should go check it out. I'm going to pull up the members area here. I meant to do this before we started, so bear with me, and show you where you can find those trainings. And then also this coming Tuesday, Jason Moran is going to be on there, and we're going to be kind of like looking at the software, the automations, talking about some things there. We'll be able to take your questions on that. So all really good. Let me Give me just a second here to get this members area up. Hey, welcome, Gary. Awesome. Okay. Here we go. So I'm going to share my screen here.
I see, Tom. I see Malik is there as well, and I think he just loaded up this morning for.
Awesome!
Had a list of 4,000, and he's got 800 confirmed leads to send out to, which started today. So good on you, Malik. Well done.
Yeah, excellent work. Excellent work. So for all of you 90-day Reach email members, if you scroll down to the bottom of your members area, there is now a new section called 4 weeks live bonus training. The first one is already in there, mining for gold, list building. So you want to go make sure and check that out. We have also added some assets and things. And I want to show you this. So 2 things we've added to the main training. So one is this video right here. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's called, You've Got a Free Profile. Now what? Next steps when someone takes your free offer. So this is a new video that Richie shot because there's, ongoing process here, right? People take a free offer. They get offered a paid upgrade. Some people take the paid upgrade. Some people don't. This will talk about the people that take the free offer and maybe they don't take the paid offer, what we do with them, how we do that. There's also a new resource with this, a little action guide I put together that has, if you remember on the training, I went through the courtesy call approach. So I put together a little action guide that has that script in there and some guides and ideas for you to be able to do that approach as well. So that's in there as well. That's in the Reach Free and Paid Offer section. So you want to make sure and check that out too. So yeah, that's it. That's the only update I had for them. And then hopefully you should be auto-registered if you're a Reach member for the Tuesday live calls. If you're not for some reason, just let our support desk know. We can get you added in there. But the next one is this Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Again, Jason Moran's going to be on there with me. We're going to be talking about the software. So why don't we do a little round robin? Let's start with Storm and Norman. Norm, what's been going on in the agency? Because you shared an amazing post with Nick and I inside Remote Millionaires, and really awesome to see all the hard work that you've been doing paying off, man.
Yeah. Welcome, Sharks. I don't really, I've been pushing myself since my accident in October. I've been pushing myself this year and scaling up. Really, it's been like me refining my teams and refining my systems. So last year I was sort of scrolling by, but not feeling like I was accomplishing a lot. And then this year I really focused on improving that because who knows when I'll go to the hospital the next. So I was really trying to like pick it up and push to not even when I was making 30K a month, I was like, okay, that's awesome. But I'm close to 70 now. So
wow, that's amazing.
I'm really pushing. And then also with me and my team, I've really put a lot of, training and like work into them to get them into the systemized sort of operation too. So there's no like me questioning what they're doing, which I was doing a lot last year. Right now, I'm free to sort of go to the beach all day because I live next to the beach, but I've got remote millionaire people to help with. So that's how I'm living my life these days.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's a big part of what we're talking about today, right? Getting to that point. Because, for those of you that may be new to our community, when Norm came to Remote Millionaires, he had some website design clients. He was doing all the work himself, right? Like doing everything himself, and was really having trouble getting over that hump and scaling them. And he's been able to take, what he's gleaned from the other people in that community and what we share in there, obviously and execute. Like that's the key. He's been executing what we share, which is so, so important. So really awesome to see that, Norm, and the wins you're posting and all that stuff, seeing you on the shout out. So great work. Richie, what's been going on with you, man?
Another crazy busy week, which is they seem to melt into each other at the moment. But good things with with as far as the agency business in New Zealand goes. I've been using the Reach machine, and right through to the end process, we have a thing called an activation call built in there. And so I've had 2 from 2 this week. and they've both resulted in a sale. One of them unconfirmed. He said, "Look, I've got a cash flow issue. Can you give me a couple of weeks?" Not a problem, man. We'll look after you there. But look, that's proven to be 100% success rate with that activation call. And if you're wondering what an activation call is, it's when you get to you give someone a free listing, then you upgrade them to a paid premium listing for a small amount of money, $50, $100. And then we give them a number of items. We make a custom-made video, we do an ebook, things that we build into there. And the system built in this thing where to get the delivery of those items, they have to book a call with you so you can go through the audit results that is one of the items. So we do an audit, and then I've got a product called Fix My GBP, which is a Google optimization service, and basically everything points at why they need that. And so, as I say, so far it's 100% success rate. It converts every time I do a call, takes 15 minutes, and you make a $600 sale.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that activation call is really like a really killer strategy inside of Reach. So awesome work, systematizing all that, getting it all built out. And then your willingness to just share what you're doing with the other people in the community is really great as well. So really appreciate that, Richie. And we'll talk a little bit. We'll go back to everybody about scaling and things like that. But let's check in with Jason, see what's been going on with him.
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Seeing high level everywhere you look.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. In my sleep, in my dreams. Yeah, I'm dreaming about automations and email bounce rates, all that good stuff. So, yeah, no, just been crazy busy. Busy taking calls, busy helping RM members. Running the agency, and then working on Reach. I mean, it's a full schedule. It's a full schedule, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So,
yeah, it's so interesting. Like, and I think everybody on the screen is a really good example of this because, when we talk about building an agency and building a business and all that, you guys can't see this, but my wife got me this hat from a lake that's not far from Las Vegas called Lake Havasu. And on the hat, it says, "We're all here because we're not all there." And I think like that is so true of entrepreneurs, right? Like
right.
To be an entrepreneur, there just has to be something not all there about you, because it can be there can be a lot of work, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of stress, a lot of great times and rewards too. It really ebbs and flows. And so, regardless of what position you're in, if you're watching this call, I guess the thing I want you to know about that is that that's normal. It's normal, right? Like those things happen. So you're going to have times and everything feels like it's clicking. You're going to have times when it feels like nothing but an uphill struggle. The thing is to just keep on keeping on, as they say in Talladega Nights, right? Or no, old school. Keep on keeping on, he tells his ex-wife. Keep on keeping on. Like that's what we do around here. We just keep moving forward. And so lots of great stuff to share. Awesome. Cool. Well, today we're going to be talking about scaling. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of mention to you guys first is when we talk about scale, it's important to remember that, again, like everything we do in our business journey, it's a process, right? And I was thinking about this today because I knew what we were going to be talking about on the live show today. This morning I got up, I went to the gym, and I've been doing this new workout program. And here's an example of how I am not all there. Okay. So I go to the gym, I do one workout, and I expect a transformation like Bruce Banner turning into the Incredible Hulk, right? Like I expect that I pick up that bar, I do some weights, and when I put it down, like I'm going to stand up and I'm just going to be huge in this whole different person, right? But the reality is it's a long-term process, and the changes are very, very incremental and small. And sometimes I don't even notice them while they're happening. Sometimes I feel like nothing is changing at all, right? But a few weeks go by, a couple of months go by, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, like I've made some real progress, or there has definitely been some changes. But at the time, it doesn't always feel that way. So again, I say all this because when we talk about scaling and all those things, it's just important to remember this is a process. And if you're feeling that way, it's normal. We all go through that stuff. But when we talk about executing, which is really the key, right? We talk about executing, like we want to execute these things. It's really important to just do one thing at a time. You know, here at Offline Sharks, we call it the circle of focus. Nick and I have this circle of focus. We're always bugging each other about circle of focus, man, circle of focus, because it's so easy to get distracted. And sometimes you don't even realize what's distracting you. Like, you know, here's the thing. Whenever we roll out like a new strategy, we always get a lot of comments and emails from people that are like, oh man, well, you could be doing this and you could be doing that and you could add this into it and you could do this. And why aren't we doing it this way? And it's like, there will always be 1,000 things you could be doing. Like that doesn't go away. I remember when Nick and I had this kind of, I don't know if you'd call it an aha moment, but like a moment of clarity about that, of like, there's always going to be 1,000 directions we could be taking our businesses. There's always going to be 1,000 improvements and optimizations and things we could be doing. But we have to really keep that circle of focus tight on the fundamentals and make sure that each thing we're doing, we're building it out as fully as possible before we move on to the next thing. And again, if you've been in our community, as some of you have since we started Offline Sharks back in 2016, you'll see that evolution. Like sitting here today, you know, it looks unbelievable. Like, oh my gosh, you guys have this, you know, this agency that's going to do 7 figures. It's automated. Like you're basically running it part-time. Like how did you get there? Well, it was all these little tiny steps that you saw us doing all through the years, like one thing at a time. And you will feel like other people are going faster because they're talking about the newest, latest thing and this thing and that thing. And they're, you know, they're going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. And it's really easy to think you need to be pulled into that, but you don't. We got to just keep the circle of focus tight. You know, in our agency, it's the 3 pillars: the prospecting, the fulfillment, and then the systems and the procedures. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Why don't, you know, Norm, I think what I want to start with you on is when you were starting to kind of scale out your processes and what you were doing, what was the thing that you started with first?
In terms of services or what actual like activity?
Well, I think in the beginning you started with cold calling, right? Like you didn't want to do it, but you were like, man, I'm just going to start cold calling so I can get this process in place for the sales. And then you were working on the fulfillment side there. So did you, I mean, you already had some fulfillment in place in terms of you being able to do the work. So you focused on the prospecting to get more clients in, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I knew that I couldn't afford a salesperson, so I had to do the sales, right? And then I also knew that like the lifeblood of your business is prospecting daily, right? Whatever way you do it, you have to do it daily. And if you're doing it, you know, 1 day a week, you're going to lose, right? So
consistency, right? Consistency.
And then Tom, if you'll remember, like I was reporting to you guys like, whoa, I made 30 calls today, right? And I hated it. I hated it every single day. But then you'll remember too, I started doing burpees because I was trying to psych myself up to doing the calls, right? And then I got up to like 70 burpees every morning before I started making the calls. So yeah, I started making calls within 2 months of joining RM. I was making calls like for 5 hours a day, then 8 hours a day. And then I would spend the other 4 hours of my day working on the business, organizing, learning, watching the videos, whatever the case was. So that was my big thing when I started.
Awesome. That's awesome stuff. And then of course you've been able to grow that out and build it out one thing at a time. Richie, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is because I think you have a really good personal experience and story around this. And I think this is something that a lot of people in our community go through. And that is, I remember when you first kind of came into Offline Sharks and you were starting this process of building out Agency Growth Machine and what would eventually become the Reach Machine. You had big plans, right? Like You were
Yeah,
you were like, go big or go home. So why don't you?
that's exactly that's kind of a life mantra I've got is if you're going to do it, you may as well go big. But it's something I learned in business a long time ago as well, is that small businesses make small money, and big businesses make big money. And I spent a long time in the hospitality industry, the pubs and bars and restaurants and stuff. And the one thing you never want to do is buy a small bar, because it makes small money, whereas a big bar makes big money. And that's always been my thought around it. So I came into AGM and went, why do one? Why not do one for every single town and city in New Zealand? So that's what I did. And I had a bit of a size measurement that we wouldn't go below. And so I did. I built them all. And to be fair, it cost me 18 months of productivity, because I just spent so much time working on the systems and everything. And I had to do everything 25 times, not once. And even trying to build out a team and those things as well. So my grand scale actually cost me time and money along the way, and a significant amount of money as well. I mean, I spent well under six figures, going through that whole process and building out what eventually became the Reach machine. It was trying things and testing things and still trying to build an agency business at the same time. So had I just gone Christchurch by local, stuck with my hometown, I think I would have saved well over a year, and I would have made more money as a result by having a circular focus, as you said, Tom. And so it's a good life lesson. And now I sort of see people, people that are coming to Reach, congratulations, fantastic. But there's no need to try and reinvent the wheel here. It's a case of use it, it works really well, and then add to it afterwards. You can build on all sorts of resources and other things as well, but I guarantee you will never fulfill all the available options for prospecting just using the Reach machine. If you did, you would be a very dedicated and very focused person that systematically goes through every single one, but you'll find there's so much to do in there. There's only so many hours in the day. So that's the whole idea, is that, as Dawn just said, overreach. And if you overreach, you're going to wind up falling short of your goal. Keep the goal realistic, smart, time framed, all of those things, and you'll achieve it.
Yeah, and it's, there's nothing against having big goals and all that stuff. It's just, I love the word you said, staying realistic about them, and again, doing them one step at a time. And some of the trainings I did, I like, it always amazed me, the story of Facebook. How, when Zuckerberg launched that thing, I mean, their market, like if they had every single person in their market using their product, it was like a grand total of a few thousand people, right? Because their market was just one college, Harvard, where, by the way, Mark went to school. Like, he started where he lived, eat, and walked around and talked to people all day. And then when they were having some success, he didn't immediately be like, oh, let's just roll this out to the world. No, they went to other, not even all colleges, which would be my first instinct. Like, oh, let's roll this out to all colleges. Like, nope. They just rolled it out to other Ivy League colleges, and then eventually all colleges, and then eventually it grows from there. But I think it's really just such a great example of, we forget sometimes when we look at a company and where they're at today, where they started. One of my favorite pictures still was that picture of Jeff Bezos in that really dinky office with like Amazon just spray painted on the wall, and he's got like books everywhere. It's like, it's easy to forget when you see the pictures of him on the super yacht going into space. It's easy to forget that that's where he started, right? So anyway,
and I think we also, Tom, people a lot of the time you hear from people in offline sharks and remote millionaires and that, I'm behind, I'm not keeping up. You're at where you're at, and the narrative in your head is the thing that you've got to straighten that out first. Stop thinking you have to be 10 steps ahead of where you are. Focus on where you are and the things that you can control. But I think it's really important is that mindset side of things, where you control the narrative in your head. If you're going to keep on telling yourself that you're behind and that you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and you're putting yourself under that pressure, you will only make things worse for yourself. So be positive about what you've already done. be focused about what you're doing next and what you're doing now, and just keep on working through it, because that's the way that you achieve and that's the way you get ahead. And I think Norm shows that, he's always had a really good focus on, getting into that thing and doing it well, and then moving on to the next thing. So keep a good narrative in your head and it will make you more productive.
Yeah. And a lot of times you just don't realize the type of results you can get from small, like we always think like there's really good money in small, really good money. Like it's probably like maybe as much as you would ever need. Like sometimes you don't even, you get this realization like, wow, I don't even really need to be that big. Like I'm doing pretty well here. But yeah, that's all really good stuff, Richie. Jason, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's all great. I think thoughts that come to my mind are, you mentioned Amazon. Amazon sells everything under the sun these days, right? I mean, any product you can possibly think of is sold there. But when they first started, they sold books. That was it. That's all they did. The other thing that it brings to mind is McDonald's. Again, burger, fries, and a drink. That's what they sold. Their menu was simple. So those are the things that I start to think about as, really my mindset around this really falls under productizing and packaging. And I think that's one of the things that I did early on, is really streamline the productizing and packaging of my services. So I was very, very clear on what it was that we were delivering. And that made it very clear as to what, my team needed to work on. And by doing that, that really helped to streamline a lot of those processes and ultimately allow us to scale, deliver more services at scale with less headaches, less problems, right? So those are my thoughts. I think, really around productizing and packaging and doing that in a way that you can deliver these services at scale. And in reference to reach, I think, that is kind of the next level of things is really thinking through, we've got this amazing machine that we're building here to tack on to your agency growth machine, to tack on to your AGM site, that allows you to build this resource, this local community resource that essentially, gives you this authority in your local marketplace to build relationships. Because that's really what this is all about. It's about you. It's about building this asset that you install into your local community that allows for the ability for these relationships to be built, for you to be able to communicate with these business owners. And it gives you, and it's from the beginning, you're starting from this place of what's the word I'm looking for, of authority, right? You're starting from this place of authority by having this site. But then again, like I said, the next level I think when it comes to reach is really getting clear on those packages and pricing, because like we always say, no one's going to get rich selling premium listings. But if we focus in on those packages, and really productizing our services, well, this thing could feed us for years and years to come. And like Richie said, there's really no need to branch out and to do 25 of these. Or Richie and I have had conversations around launching 2,000 of these across the country. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's you could easily this thing could easily provide more than enough business for you for many, many years to come, right? This is so.
Yeah, no, that's all spot on. And I think, and regardless of the specific things we're talking about, like there is an overall, a bigger picture to all this too, because when we talk about scaling and things like that, right? Like there's a few ways that we can do that, right? We can scale, or we can automate our process as an agency using software. We can automate our processes using VAs, team members, bringing people in, right? There's also only a couple of things we can automate, right? Like we can have sales. That could be something we could focus on stepping out of, or it could be the fulfillment side of things we could focus on stepping out of. And eventually we're probably going to be doing all of those at some point in whatever type of business we have. We'll be using software at some point. We'll be using team members, all those things. But again, really important to remember, it's a process that starts one thing at a time and you build up. And a lot of times in the beginning, as the entrepreneur who's taking this risk and starting this business, you're probably going to be doing a lot of those things yourself in the beginning with your goal down the road to be able to hand those things off, right? So one question we often get a lot around this process is like, well, what do I outsource first? What do I outsource first? And I want to give you guys some guidance on this, and then the other guys can chime in if they have some thoughts on it too. But in Remote Millionaires, the thing that we teach there is what we call kind of like a Rolodex approach. So we really start with fulfillment. And you may think, well, that seems backwards. Like, why would I start with fulfillment when I don't even have any clients? Well, we have this thing called the Rolodex approach, which is basically a process of where we find people that can do the fulfillment of the services that we're going to be offering, right? And we have them in our Rolodex. We don't hire them right away. We just have them on standby. But we vetted them. We know that they can deliver quality work and do the things we do. Now, as we go through this process, it does a lot of things for us on the sales side too, because one, it really clarifies what Jason was talking about earlier about what our products and services are and what we're actually selling. Because once we work out those fulfillment people, like we know the packages that they can do. We like, let's say that they're doing websites. We know that they can do a 5-page website. These are the pages that are going to be in it. This is what it is. This is what it's going to, this is the hard cost to us. So that allows us then to be able to use that information to turn around and talk to potential prospects. And we can set our pricing effectively because we know what our hard costs are going to be in that process as well. So even though it seems kind of out of whack that we would start with that, it really does a lot of securing your foundation for the sales part, for being able to reach out. Plus, when you're talking about, I know everybody looks at our agency and they think, oh man, I really just want a full-time salesperson and I want that. But like, the reality about a full-time salesperson is you have to have your ducks in a row for them to be successful, meaning your fulfillment has to be dialed in, your processes, your packages, so that when that person comes in, they can learn those things and they can run with them, right? Like Megan, the salesperson, our agency, she would not be able to do what she's doing if we didn't already have that stuff worked out before she came on, right? And again, for us, it was a gradual process of getting there. We were doing it all in the beginning. Then we were working with an appointment setter. Then we were using some automation. And then we brought on a full-time sales rep. And it's allowed her to flourish and be successful because we had it together. And a really good salesperson, if they come in and you don't have it together, like they're probably not going to be with you for that long because they want to be someplace, especially the high performers, where things are together, right? And, setting it up that way, Megan, like recently what we started doing at the agencies, we now have a wait list because she's bringing in so many clients. So we've had this wait list strategy that we've been working on and developing out, which I'm sure we'll talk about more later. But I think like that's that kind of process in the scaling, like picking the one thing. Okay, what is the thing I want to do first? So is it going to be my fulfillment? Is it going to be something in sales? A lot of times too, I think the things that take the most time, like I'll just give another example and then I'll let you guys comment on this with your thoughts, is for instance, SEO. We do a lot of SEO in the agency, but one of the first things we outsourced for SEO, and this is how we still do it today, like we didn't go looking for an SEO expert, somebody that could do the whole SEO prospect or process. That's expensive. What we did was we started hiring SEO content writers because creating the content and generating the content for the SEO that we were doing was the time-consuming part. So we leveraged people out there that could do that better than we could to create that content. And then that allowed us to streamline that process and spend less time ourselves doing the SEO because the time-consuming part was being handled by somebody else. So if you're looking at the things you're doing and you're thinking, what should I do first? Those are some of the things I would look for. Like, well, what are the things that are, what's something that's maybe taking up what's the most time consuming part of this process? Can I get that automated or outsourced first? Right. What is the thing maybe I'm weakest at, and if it is sales, well, maybe you want to start looking for an opportunity where you can find somebody who's really great at sales and you can handle that fulfillment side, right? There may be sometimes to leverage there. So why don't we go around and maybe you guys can give some thoughts on anything I said, or your thoughts on some recommendations of where you might have people start or anything like that. Why don't we start with Jason this time?
Yeah. So yeah, I love everything you said there, Tom. Again, I kind of look at the agency world in these very core pillars. Packaging and pricing, I think, is one I just mentioned earlier. Fulfillment, obviously, is another. And sales is obviously another main pillar. And, similar to, I try to take my cues, like, Richie had said, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel with a lot of these things. And I try to take my cues from very successful businesses out there, and what have they done, and how can we take some of that knowledge and apply it to the agency space. So, I think, getting really clear on what those things are. So for me, in my agency, it all started with really going back to the drawing board and seeing, okay, what do I ultimately want to offer? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the services that I know that we can deliver? And what services am I excited about? What are the things that I really want to help local businesses with? Once I understood what those things were and I decided on a direction, then it became, the productization of those services and really ironing out exactly what I felt was necessary. Now, SEO is one of those. And SEO, I mean, if you really want to, do a massive in-depth, SEO program, I mean, there are thousands of line items, thousands of activities that you could include in a package. But for me, it was more important to really focus on kind of the 80-20 principle and to carry that through my entire business. What are the 80% of things that are going to drive, really drive the needle when it comes to each one of my packages, SEO being one of them. And then similar to what you mentioned, Tom, once I figured that out, figure out, okay, where's the bottleneck here? Am I the bottleneck? Is it something like we don't have the right team member? Do we not have the right process? Are we not pricing our things right? Like where are the bottlenecks in the business? And really start to isolate those and handle those one at a time. And I guess that's kind of how I went at it. So I went at it at a very systematic approach. And similar to you, every time I found something, so maybe, writing is not my strong suit either. So definitely that was one of those little things that we outsourced right away. We knew that, hey, we can, outsource this writing bit to a team who has done the exact same thing that we're trying to do, right? They've built out a process and a system and productized the entire writing process, and they're really good at it, and they can turn out amazing SEO content, SEO articles that we can use for clients. So that was definitely part of the process, and then eventually bringing people in-house. So similar to you, Tom, we started with outsourcing that work, and then that eventually led to us bringing somebody in-house that does the same type of thing. But we still do some outsourced stuff to this day. We do a lot of stuff around link building. Some of the high-powered links that we do, we purchase those, and so there are things around that we still outsource in the agency. But again, I think, productizing, packaging, systematizing, all the way through everything from the packages themselves, the delivery of those packages, and the service aspect of that. That's been a big key driver in my agency for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good stuff. Richie, what's maybe you can tell people, because you've been, and I'm going to use just Reach as an example, because I know that's something you've been doing a lot lately, but maybe you can tell them, like, what are some of the things that you outsource in the Reach process? Because the software and the automations handle a lot of the workload, but what are some of the tasks that you outsource with that?
So one of the biggest tasks is creating a list, and it's what I call a raw data list. So it's before it's been cleaned or tuned to exactly what you're looking for. So I've got the very first appointment setter VA that I hired back in Christchurch. Jasmine makes my list for me, and so she's got a laptop, and she's got Lead Kahuna account, and I just send her an email saying, this is the area, here's the stuff. She's got a set of keywords that she runs through, and about a week later arrives a spreadsheet that has already been pre-cleaned and done, and it's it'll be a certain number that she's come up with from those as well. So that's one thing I outsourced pretty early in the piece, was getting someone to do all that searching for me.
And real quick, Richie, because I want to give people an idea, like what's a range of an hourly rate for somebody to do that task?
Typically, the best VAs I've found have come from the Philippines, and we pay about $5-6 an hour for that kind of thing. You can get $3-4 an hour, but I think it's fair to say $5-6 an hour for that kind of data cleaning, data assembly, that kind of stuff is a pretty fair go. You'll find there are people that are just exceptional, and they might be worth $10-15 an hour, but it's not an over the top expense, especially when you can get someone to multitask and do other things. Like if you've got 250 free listings to build, that's a lot of your time on the computer doing all of those things, and to make them of a high standard as well. Far better to have a contractor at $5 an hour, for example, who can do 10 or 12 an hour, if not 15 or 20. So and that, I think 17 an hour is what we expect for free listing builds. And then we also, our premium featured listing builds, we typically budget about an hour, maybe an hour and a half for one of those.
When you say 17 an hour, you mean they should be able to do 17 an hour?
17 an hour,
that's not the price. They should be able to, do 17.
We do, we add logo or picture of the business as well. Plus we do custom tags. So there's a little bit of detail in it, but someone that's practiced and gets in there and everything else, that's it's a couple of hours work a day if we're on a campaign. So and it's not a huge expense, and that's why I've always said the premium upgrade pays for all of these services. It pays for the hosting of the website. It pays for the VAs to do these things. So it's self-fulfilling, and that means that the conversion to the products that we sell and the services that we have afterwards, that's where we make our money. So you sort of just got to feed the machine. It's a good place to start in building a team is a VA, and you might move on to having VAs that are specialized. So we've got 4 VAs in the team basically that do from list building, list cleaning, profile building on the AGM sites, and one sort of more specialized in making videos and doing those premium listing items. So yeah, it's a good team to have, but it's not an expensive team to have as well. And it's a great place to start, because if you get a good one, always ask the question, what else? What do you like doing? What else would you be interested in doing? Do you do anything else? And that's how I found Ren, who's my video editor. I just said to her one day, I said, "Do you do anything else?" She goes, "I like editing videos." And we did a weekly video for a customer, and the turnaround time was about 10-12 hours. And I gave her the video and said, "Here, look, just see what you can do." And 45 minutes later, she sent me back something that was 10 times better than what I'd ever seen from 3 people that have been doing videos for that beforehand. And that was it, man. She was hired. She's been my video editor ever since, and she's really good at it.
Yeah, that's great stuff. That's awesome. Norm, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, when I first started RM and I was getting into this agency thing, Richie, you'll remember this. I hired right away, right? Like I hired 3 VAs, I think. And, with VAs, definitely they're adaptable, right? Like you can see their strengths, see their weakness, and then apply them where you need to, or find a new one, or whatever the case is. But VAs, you could train them into higher positions, later on if you pour that much into them. But for me, in like trying to figure, I agree with you, Tom and Jason, like trying to figure out your pricing for your packages and your overall business, you need your team hired first, right? You need to know how much they cost. And if you did it the other way, you would end up, which is what I've been speaking to some RM members about, is like you end up not making any money and you're paying for the service to be done essentially, right? And it doesn't make any business sense. So I firmly agree. Think that you should be hiring. Like we see a lot of people in our Facebook community where they're doing the work themselves, and I think that some of those little task jobs can be outsourced, right? And you can factor the cost of that outsourcing into your price, so that you've got freed up time to, do whatever you want. Go get more business. Go get more clients. But these days, for me, everything that comes my way, I'm thinking, who can I hire for that? Right. I don't want to do any of the work. I'm good at staring at 3 screens in front of me. That's about it. Right. So I'm always trying to outsource anybody. I'm actually trying to hire an operations manager, like a full-time operations manager, to do my job right now for a lot of money.
Great. That's great stuff. Awesome. Well, I want to go through and get some questions real quick, and then we're going to do some shout outs. And man, this time has just flown by today. It's really awesome. One thing I saw Gary said, training on how to hire a part-time sales rep would be good. Gary, I think probably what you want to look at if sales is something you want to outsource is, we started by hiring an appointment setter. An appointment setter is basically somebody who does the initial outreach, the cold prospecting for you, and then sets the appointment for you to get on the call with the person and close the deal. We found that to be the easiest thing to get up and running. And a lot of times, just one appointment setter, just working 10 hours a week, will keep you plenty busy, right? And then you can kind of scale up from there and grow out to what you're doing. And we have some training on that. So if you're a Shark Alliance member, there's training on that inside the Shark Alliance. We had a product we released a while back called Yellow Brick Road, which was all about hiring an appointment setter. If you're an Agency Growth Machine member, there's a specific training in there about hiring an appointment setter to use with Agency Growth Machine. If you're a new Reach member, one of the natural ways to do that is the leads that are responding to what's going on in Reach, whether they're taking a free listing or whether they're taking the paid upgrade, the appointment setter is the person reaching out to them, right? So that's another way you can automate that Reach process, right? So, eventually what our long-term goal should be with Reach is that, okay, we have someone building a list, right? We've got someone adding the listings for us. And then we have somebody that's doing the courtesy calls and can be doing the activation calls with us as well. So there's definitely lots of training inside the community on that. So you want to check those things out as well. And then, Richie, somebody asked, is your business primarily connected to your AGMs? It is, correct?
Yeah, very much so. And it always has been. I've got a couple of other websites as well, for the agency side of things, and I've completely neglected them for the last couple of years. I mean, because I'm too busy on the other side of it. You don't need to have the biggest and flashiest of everything to get out there and get stuck into doing these jobs for customers. It's a bit of a fallacy that you've got to have the greatest presentation, and otherwise people go, oh, they're not credible and stuff. And that credibility comes from how you interact with people, and having things like a phone number and an email address that isn't, I would never use my Gmail or a Hotmail address or something to send to a customer. Make sure you've got a professional email address and a phone number, and make sure you interact professionally, because that's what people remember. They don't remember how fancy your website was, even if they're in the market for a new website as well. So but it's all about those AGM sites. They drive everything. Awesome. And how many hours per week do you hire your AGM VAs? Well, it just depends on what we've got going on. I mean, some weeks they'll do 40, 50 hours. Other weeks they'll do 5 or 10, so.
Can I take this real quick? One thing, Jacqueline, I would recommend for you is I would set a budget. Like, what type of a budget can you afford right now? Because even if you only have somebody working 5 to 10 hours a week, that can be a huge weight off your shoulders, right? So don't get so caught up in like, well, what is everybody else doing? Like, just think about, well, what's my situation? What can I reasonably budget for this? And just start with that. And then you'll probably find like one of the things that will do for you. I know this is what happened to me. The first person I hired was only working 10 hours a week. But once they were going, and I really got it through my thick skull that it wasn't an expense, that it was actually an investment, and it was an investment that freed up my time and made my business life easier. I was like, I was trying to figure out how can I spend more money to do that. A lot of times when you're sitting there and you've never done it before and you're just viewing it as an expense, which is perfectly natural. That's natural to do that. All you think about is like, how little can I spend? Right? The shift really happens when you see the leverage and things it gives you. And then you're like, then you shift your thinking to like, well, how much can I set aside for this to make my life easier? So that's one thing I would do there. And Dorn, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the reach system, I would, probably have one pod per site and work it out.
Hey, Tom, just on that. So one thing I've moved to the last few months with my sort of core contracting team, which is the SEO and those guys, is a thing I brought in called guaranteed hours. So when you've got someone really good, and as opposed to moving them to a straight salary and then going, well, if I'm paying them a salary, then I'm not filling their work week. You're kind of on the losing end of it. But at the same time, you've got a number of contractors, different places are looking for a bit of surety as well. So I do a thing with a couple of them called guaranteed hours, and that's with every new reoccurring revenue customer for, say, SEO, for example. We guarantee a portion of hours per week because we know that they're going to be fulfilling that anyway, and that they know that once they've filled a roster of, say, 10, 15 customers, that they're going to be, guaranteed 40 hours a week. So that's something you can bring in, and it's something you can measure it to suit your business, but it's a good way of getting a really good contractor committed, and also you're kind of incentivizing them as well as saying, hey, the better we do this process, then the more business is going to be that comes from it as well. So that's just a wee pointer tip,
Yeah, great stuff. Sandy, one of the things I'd recommend here is like, yes, you should have a meeting agenda script outline for what you're going to discuss on calls. So we have several examples of this in various things, right? The activation call really is just a strategy call. And we've done lots of different trainings and various products on the strategy call, the audits, right? The checklist. Like at a minimum, I would have a checklist of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And a really good professional thing to do when you're getting on calls with people is to lay out the agenda at the beginning of the call. So you get on the call. Hello, thanks for taking the time to be on here. I just want to tell you real quick how this call is going to go. We're going to spend about 5 minutes talking about this. We're going to spend about 10 minutes talking. All in all, we'll probably be on here 20, 30 minutes, whatever the timeline is, right? But having that agenda with the bullet points somewhere where you can see it will keep you on track and make sure that you stay focused and respect their time and respect your time as well, right? So you should definitely have that on there as well.
Tom, can I say something about this topic?
Yes, yeah.
As far as outsourcing, like in November, I'm going to Japan for the whole month, and I'm not doing any work. I'm not taking my laptop. I'm not doing anything. And guess who gets to run my business? My admin gets to run it. So I've outsourced that much to the point where she knows how to run my business without me. I was in hospital for 2 months. She ran my business. So eventually you'll get up there where, and she started as a VA, so she can run my business on her own without the bank accounts though. So that's something you can reach up to for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Patty, I see your question here. So if you're in many niches, what's the best outsource to begin with? So there's a lot of general things that you can be doing there, right? Obviously, if you're the prospecting part, they can be doing the business verification calls. They can be adding listings for you. You could outsource somebody to create content for your community website, right? To get regular blog posts so you have activity there. All kinds of things that aren't niche specific that you could be hiring people there for sure. Let me hold on. Oh, Let me look at a couple of these other questions. So I did put the link to Nick's free training, offlinesharks.com/part-time million on running a part-time 7-figure agency. So you guys will want to check that out after the live show ends here. Let me make sure I got all these questions. I saw Jacqueline said this question about pricing, and she was thinking about here it is. She was thinking about pricing structure for services as well. She likes a 66% markup. Jacqueline, I think that can be a great place to start. One of the things that we are a big proponent of here in our community is working backwards. So just having a percentage kind of pulled out of air doesn't really work for us, right? Like we want to say like, okay, look, here's the financial goal we're trying to get to. For us to hit that goal, we just work backwards. This is what we need to be generating per month. This is what we need to be generating per week. This is what we need to be generating per day. This is what we need to be generating per hour, which means on average, each prospect needs to go like this, right? And then that way we can set pricing that helps us hit that goal. Like just having a percentage may or may not help you get there, right? So it's really important to kind of think through that pricing process and where you want to go and work yourself backwards. And then one other one here. Oh, somebody's letting the cat out of the bag. We do have a new course that's going to be coming out on the 18th, but we're not going to talk about that just yet. So, let me answer this question.
Man down. We've lost Jason.
That's okay. He was having some connection technical issues, so we're all good.
Yeah, I think he's going to get. He said he had a waxing appointment later on this afternoon, so he might have got away to that. So.
Awesome. So we do use, like Jason mentioned when he was talking about productizing and what they do with SEO. We do use companies like Web 2.0 to do specific tasks, like link building. So we'll buy links that go into our SEO packages, but we don't have them doing the whole process. We just find we have more control and over the quality and the results and what we're doing when we're not relying on one place to do it. So yes, we do use them for certain things, but not for the entire process. Okay, let's do some. Oh, you're back. Richie said you had a waxing appointment, but
that was quick.
He said it was quick. We like to have fun around here. Okay, so look, let's do some shout outs real quick, and then we'll wrap this baby up because time was just flying by. So let me share my screen, and then you guys feel free to jump in and comment on any of those as we go through here. First up, our first shout out goes to EG Buzz. She sold an SEO and content upgrade to an e-commerce website, $700. So very solid win, EG. Congratulations.
And some great momentum going on there as well. EG's been really active in posting wins, but she's just doing things every day. It's fantastic. It's great to see.
Yeah, awesome work, EG. Lee Proctor, a Steelers fan, made a sale for $400 plus $80 residual with one email. Man, that's a big win, Lee. Congratulations. That's awesome. We've got Storm and Norman, new Google Business Profile, SEO, and PPC ads, $1,900 with $1,500 ad spend to a window renewals installer and manufacturer company. Norm, any insight into that particular win?
That was somebody I picked up off of the Facebook ad screenshot where I see people on Facebook ads where they're mostly service-based businesses, and then I see that their ads aren't doing very well, or they've got some angry faces or negative comments on them, and then I go do a deep discovery on those people. Then I call them immediately, right? Or my salespeople call them and book an appointment with them, and it usually is a like they're more willing to listen to me versus a cold lead. So I would do it.
Awesome. Man, that's great stuff. Good stuff. Kenneth Ross told two social, I think that's supposed to say sold two social media packages, one to a physician and one to an attorney for $1,000 each. That's awesome, Kenneth. Those are two solid wins. Hannah Groves, an RM member, signed up a long-term web client for local SEO. Plus, she signed a client for Google Ads and SEO, $38.94 Australian, so $25.80 a month US. And I think, Norm, did you help her with this process? I think I saw she mentioned you were.
I had a meeting with her yesterday, but I've been sort of like getting into her SEO a little bit more with her. So hopefully I helped her, but if not, great job, Hannah.
Yeah, excellent work. Excellent work. Website design project, $200. Abukar, I hope I said that right. I'm terrible with first names, so Abukar, I hope that's congratulations, a good win, really good win. Then we've got Jacqueline Heath picked up an additional 300 pounds for extra work being performed on a website design. Excellent work, Jacqueline. Awesome to see you doing that. We've got Nick, downsell of $60 for menu design for the restaurant client he and Devendra recently closed. This has been awesome to watch. Nick and I were talking about this the other day because Devendra and Nick, they hooked up in the group. They've been doing some things together. It brought us back some memories to Nick and I. We're like, man, that reminds us when we were just first getting this thing going. So awesome to see you guys having some success. Congratulations. And then Chris Brine took an existing client from a low ticket social media content package to a new website and a monthly recurring package for $1,600 a month. That's a solid win. Way to go. Way to go, Chris.
That's the one I helped Chris with.
Gotcha. That's the one I saw. I knew I saw somebody saying how that you'd been instrumental in helping them. So awesome work, Norm. And Chris, great job. Great job. Jerry Wright, new website to a swimming pool construction company, $2,400 plus hosting, $450 a year. That's a big win. Solid win. That's a combined total of $12,285 for the week of July 29th through August 4th. A grand total of $1,111,150 since the start of 2023. You guys are killing it out there. Keep up the good work. We can cross hit the 3 million mark this year. So if you have wins, share them. If not, get out there, take some action, get some wins. Make sure you post them in the Facebook group. We'd really appreciate that. So solid stuff there. And then we got one more thing before we blaze out of here, and that is we need to...
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, bling, bling, got your chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
We're going to give away some Cash App money. So each week, we pick a couple of random people, and we give them some cash just for going to the Facebook group and posting on our Sharks Win. And let me see who has posted on here. I'm gonna refresh this to make sure. I'm just gonna pick out a couple of random people right now. And we're gonna do it. So we are going to, where's all the comments? All comments. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Let's send some Cash App money to Jerry Wright. That's number one. And let's go to Enrique. Enrique and Jerry, congratulations. Some Cash App money headed your way. The team will reach out to you to get your info and do that. So, man, this was an awesome show. That hour just flew by. Jason, Norm, Richie.
Quick question, Tom.
Yeah.
Don't mean to interrupt, mate. Just wondering, tonight there's a $1.25 billion lotto draw here in the United States. If I win that, is that counted in the total for the Sharks wins for the week?
As long as you send me 10%.
No, right. Okay, just wanted to check.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, thanks for joining us today on this Friday Marketing Aloha Jam session. We're going to be here next Friday, same Shark time, same Shark channel. Stay safe out there. Practice Aloha. If you need anything, feel free to reach out to our support desk, offlinesharks.com/support. Go check out Nick's training, offlinesharks.com/part-time million, a free training he did on having a part-time 7-figure agency. You guys are going to love it. We'll see you next week. Stay safe this weekend. Practice Aloha. Talk to you later, everybody. That was the wrong one.
You've been watching the Aloha Marketing Jam Session, your weekly marketing live show, always bringing you the latest strategies and tactics to build your remote empire from anywhere in the world. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this stream. You can stay up to date throughout the week with the Remote Millionaires podcast at remotemmillionaires.com/podcast and Nick's YouTube videos at nickponte.com/YouTube. We'll be back here next Friday for another live show. Until then,